All right, I will do a video. You're probably better just listening to it than rather watching it because one, I'm not that good looking, and two, my voice doesn't keep up. My voice is faster than the video is taking. I don't know why, but it's this new thing I have on my computer, so I figured I'd give it a shot. In any case, let's talk about the waiver wire real quick. What we agreed upon was that everybody at the end of, we would have an auction process. You would get a certain allowance. You would bid on players. At the end of the year, anything that you bid on that was less than $10 would be $10 in their fantasy contract if you wanted to keep them. Anything over 10 would assume that dollar amount and be that dollar amount for this year, and then that dollar amount plus 10% for next year. I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, couple things we need to talk about just so everybody understands how it works and when it's going to work. I'm going to activate waiver wires September 4th, which is the Wednesday. To process for Wednesday night. So tomorrow night you can put it in. Everyone gets $50 to their waiver wire allowance, to their auction waiver wire allowance. Anybody who did not spend all their money at the draft will get that percentage towards their allowance. So for example, BVD, Boca did not spend all of it. He spent 180, so he had 20 left over. 20 divided by 200 is 0.1, 10%. His waiver wire auction allowance is 55, not 50. I spent 200, mine's 50. Okay, the process. Similar to like any waiver wire claim, you're going to go on there, you're going to put in a bid amount, it's going to post, you'll see it. You can withdraw it, you can move it, you can put in 2 players, and bid separately on them and dropping 1 player. It's very similar to the way things worked before, except there's a bid associated with it. Okay, so let's talk about like winning, losing, how it affects the salary cap and things like that. Okay, any winning auction bid, right, of less than $10, the player gets added to the person's roster for $10 towards the salary cap as their contract. Example, Team A bids and wins a player for $8. The player gets added to your team as $10 towards your $250 salary cap. It's not going to be what you paid for him if it's less than 10, which is what we agreed upon. Any winning auction bid greater than 10, the player gets added to your team for the winning amount and counts towards your salary cap for the winning amount. Example, Team A bids and wins on a player for $20. Player gets added to your team for $20 towards this $250 salary cap. Next year, that player will be 22. That salary plus 10%. Okay, now let's say you have your defense is on a buy and you want to pick up a defense, but you really don't want to bid $1 on them because why would you waste any of your allowance, right? Especially if nobody wants that defense. So any team can bid 0 on any player and add him to their roster, similar to the old waiver wire process. So for example, if you wanted the Jets D because yours is on a bye week and you don't want to spend your allowance because you're saving it, or you think you might need it, or you don't have any left, you can add that player by putting in 0, and they will add to your roster for 0 against your auction allowance. However, similar to years past, its fantasy contract would be, if you're going to keep them, $10, right, towards your salary cap. All right, so you can put in 0 for anybody. The only thing that costs you is your waiver wire position. Okay, so here are some things to chew on. Any pickup from the waiver wire moves you to the bottom of the waiver wire position list. Why is that important? 2 reasons. One is, you want to be at the top because you don't pick anybody up, and it gives you the advantage when there's a tie in the auction. If there's a tie in the auction, the highest waiver order placement, right, will win. So for example, if 2 people bid $8, the person who has higher in the waiver wire auction list will win. This is automatic. It's done by CBS. Okay, second thing to remember is it's an allowance in the waiver wire. And I use the word allowance because if you have a player like MJD who's $35 and you drop MJD, you don't get $35 to your allowance back. All right? That's not the way it works. So for example, Andy dropped Andre Brown for $11. The original assumption was that he would get the $11 towards his cap back. Don't use that. He would get $11 towards his waiver wire auction allowance. No, he only gets $11 towards his cap. Andre Brown will also maintain the salary for $11 if somebody were to add him for like 3 or 4. That's the way it works. So next point is any player who gets dropped and has an existing contract, not fantasy acquisition 2013, maintains that contract for the year regardless of the auction waiver wire bid. So for example, if I dropped RG3, he's $3, and for some reason I dropped him because he wasn't doing well, and then all of a sudden he started doing amazing, and everybody went to add him, and the waiver wire auction yielded a $13 winning bid. He does not assume that $13 salary. He assumes the $3 salary towards the salary cap. However, the waiver wire auction allowance will cost the person $13, and his waiver wire auction allowance will be reduced by $13. Therefore, if he had 20, the winner had 20, he'll be down to 7. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions. 201-951-0594 or reply. You can post your own videos if you want. I'm going to post this one on YouTube, send it to you the link. I'm also going to post it in the Fantasy Kvtech site. Hopefully it can get loaded. I don't know. Talk to you guys soon.